This is impossible. How could this happen?
The numbers don't lie. Look at the projections. We need to act
The bank
now.
manager's face went white as chalk when he pulled up the account information. His hands actually trembled as he turned the computer screen toward me, and I saw numbers I couldn't quite process. Not after everything I'd lost. Not after being betrayed by my own son. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning, from when I still believed that family meant something. My name is Dorothy Sullivan, though everyone calls me Dot. I'm 67 years old, and up until 2 years ago, I thought I had built a pretty good life. I taught 4th grade for 34 years in the Boston public schools, watching thousands of children learn to read, to dream, to believe in themselves. My late husband Patrick and I raised 2 kids in a modest 3-bedroom colonial in Dorchester. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We were happy. Patrick died 5 years ago from pancreatic cancer. Watching him waste away over those 8 months was the hardest thing I'd ever done. But he fought until the very end, always thinking about me, about the kids. His last words to me were, "I made sure you'll be okay, Dot. I promise." At the time, I thought he meant the life insurance policy, the house we'd paid off, the savings we'd built together. I had no idea how right he was. After Patrick passed, I threw myself into my final years of teaching. The kids kept me going. But at 65, with my knees giving out and the early mornings getting harder, I decided to retire. I had it all planned out. I'd travel a little, maybe take that trip to Ireland we'd always talked about. I'd volunteer at the library, spend more time with my grandkids. I had the house worth about $450,000, savings of $380,000, and Patrick's life insurance payout that I'd been careful with. Not a fortune, but enough for a comfortable retirement. My son Kevin had always been ambitious. Maybe too ambitious. He'd gone into real estate development, partnering with a guy named Marcus Chen, a certified public accountant who seemed sharp as a tack. They bought distressed properties, fixed them up, flipped them. Kevin would call me every week, telling me about his latest deal, his big plans. I was proud of him. "Ma," he'd say, "I'm building something here. A real legacy." My daughter Rachel was different. Quieter, steadier. She was a nurse at Mass General, married to a good man named Tom. She worried about me living alone in that big house. Both my kids did. About 18 months after I retired, Kevin came to me with a proposition. "Ma, you know I love you, right?" He sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Patrick and I had shared breakfast for 33 years. "I've been thinking, that house is too much for you. 3 bedrooms, that yard, the stairs. And honestly, it's not the safest neighborhood anymore." "Kevin, I'm fine. I've lived here for 40 years. But you could be more than fine. Listen, I've got a great investment opportunity. Multifamily renovation in Quincy. The returns are incredible." And I was thinking, what if you came in as a partner? You'd use the equity from this house plus some of your savings. We'd get you a nice condo, something modern with an elevator, maybe in Cambridge near Rachel. And your money would be working for you, instead of just sitting in the bank. I hesitated. I'd never been much for investments beyond our simple savings account and Patrick's 401k. "I don't know, honey. That's everything your father and I worked for." "Exactly. And he'd want it working for you, not just sitting there losing value to inflation. Marcus has all the numbers. It's completely safe. Family business, Ma. You'd be a partner with your own son." He said it with such confidence, such love in his eyes. And maybe I was lonely. Maybe I wanted to feel useful, connected to something. Rachel had her own life, her own family. Kevin was including me in his. "Let me think about it," I said. Over the next few weeks, Kevin brought Marcus over several times. Marcus showed me spreadsheets, projected returns, photos of the property. It all looked so professional. "Mrs. Sullivan," Marcus said in his smooth voice, "with all due respect, this is the smart move. Fixed income in retirement? That's 1,980 seconds thinking. Your generation built wealth through assets. This is how you protect what Patrick left you." Something about the way he said Patrick's name bothered me, but I pushed the feeling aside. Rachel was less enthusiastic when I told her. "Mom, that's a lot of money. Are you sure? I mean, Kevin's done well, but this seems risky." "It's his business, sweetie. And he's included me. He wants to take care of me. Just be careful, okay? Maybe have a lawyer look at everything first. But I didn't get a lawyer. I trusted my son. In March of 2024, I signed the papers Kevin and Marcus put in front of me. I sold the house. I moved into a small condo in Medford that Kevin said was temporary, just until we close the deal and find you something better. I transferred $680,000 to an LLC that Marcus had set up. It's for liability protection, he explained. Standard business practice. Kevin and Marcus were listed as managing partners. I was listed as a passive investor. The first few months were fine. Kevin would send me updates, photos of construction progress. The condo in Medford was okay, if small and in a loud neighborhood. Not Cambridge near Rachel like Kevin had promised, but he said it was temporary. Then the updates slowed down. Then they stopped. When I called Kevin in September, he sounded distracted. "Ma, I'm in the middle of something. Can I call you back?" He didn't call back. I started getting worried in October. I'd driven by the Quincy property. It sat empty, no construction happening. I called Marcus. His number was disconnected. That's when the fear really set in. I went to Kevin's office in downtown Boston. The receptionist looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Sullivan. Kevin isn't in today. When will he be in?" I'm not sure. You might want to call him." I called 17 times that day, no answer. Finally, at 8 p.m., my phone rang. It was Rachel. "Mom, I just got off the phone with Kevin. What the hell is going on?" My hands started shaking. "What did he say?" "He said you're confused, that you've been having memory issues, that you're calling his office constantly and harassing his receptionist. Mom, is this true? Are you okay?" "What?" "Rachel, no. I'm trying to find out what happened to my money, to my investment in his company. He says there is no company. He says you're confused about signing over power of attorney for medical decisions, that you're mixing it up with some business thing you're imagining." The room started spinning. "He's lying." "Mom," he sounded really concerned. "He said you've been forgetting things, repeating yourself. He thinks you might need to see a doctor, maybe even consider assisted living." "Rachel, listen to me. I am not confused. I gave him and Marcus over $600,000 for a real estate investment. I signed papers. I have documents. Can you show them to me?" I went to my filing cabinet. The folder was gone. I tore through everything. Nothing. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. "Mom? They're gone. The papers are gone. But I signed them. I know I did." Okay. Why don't you come stay with Tom and me for a few days? We'll figure this out together." But I could hear the doubt in her voice. She thought I was losing it. The next morning, I went to my bank. The savings account that had held $380,000 showed a balance of $143.27. According to the records, I'd authorized a series of wire transfers over the past 6 months to an account I'd never heard of. "But I didn't authorize these," I told the bank manager, my voice rising. "I never signed anything for wire transfers." "Ma'am, these all have electronic authorization using your online banking credentials, and this account was opened in your name." She showed me the signature card. It looked like my signature, but slightly off, like someone had traced it. I felt like I was drowning. I called the police. They sent an officer who looked about 12 years old. He took notes, but I could see the skepticism in his eyes. "Ma'am, this sounds like a civil matter, family dispute. You gave him access to your accounts, signed over the house proceeds. You'll need to hire a lawyer." I was defrauded. "Then your lawyer can prove that, but we can't arrest someone for a business deal gone bad." I called every lawyer I could find. The first one said he'd need a $35,000 retainer for elder fraud cases. The second wanted $50,000. The third actually laughed when I told him how much liquid money I had left. "Mrs. Sullivan, I'm sorry. Cases like this are expensive. You're looking at years of litigation, expert witnesses, forensic accountants. Without significant resources, I can't help you." I tried calling Kevin again, straight to voicemail. I drove to his house in Wellesley, a beautiful colonial that my money probably paid for. His wife Amber answered the door, our 3 grandchildren peeking around her legs. "Dorothy, Kevin's not here. When will he be back? Amber, please, I need to talk to him. It's about the money. She sighed, and I saw something in her eyes. Pity, maybe. Or guilt. He said you might come by. He said you're not well, that you're having delusions. Dorothy, I'm sorry, but he doesn't want you around the kids right now. Not until you get help. I'm not delusional! He stole from me! You need to leave, or I'm calling the police. She closed the door in my face. Through the window I could see my granddaughter Emma, just 7 years old, watching me with confused eyes. I went home to my little condo and sat in the dark. Everything Patrick and I had built. Gone. My son, my relationship with my grandchildren. Gone. I was 67 years old with $143.27 in the bank and $1,100 a month in Social Security. I couldn't afford the rent on the condo past January. I couldn't afford food and medication. I certainly couldn't afford a lawyer. That night, I seriously considered ending it. I had Patrick's old pills from his cancer treatment. I counted them out. 23. I wondered if that would be enough. Instead, I cried until I had no tears left. Then I got angry. I started documenting everything. I wrote down every conversation, every meeting, every document I could remember signing. I went to the county registry and requested copies of the property transfer documents. They cost $10 a page, money I couldn't afford, but I needed them. What I found made me sick. The signature on the deed transfer looked like mine, but wasn't. The notary stamp was from a guy who turned out to be Marcus's brother-in-law. The whole thing was fraud from top to bottom. But knowing it and proving it were different things. Rachel came to visit in early December. She brought groceries, which I needed. She sat across from me at my tiny kitchen table and held my hands. Mom, I've been thinking. Maybe Kevin's right. Maybe you should see a doctor, just to rule things out. You don't believe me. I want to believe you. But Mom, you're almost 70. These things happen. Memory issues, confusion. It's not your fault. I am not confused. I pulled my hands away. Rachel, he stole everything. Your father's life insurance, our savings, our home, everything we built, and you're telling me I'm senile? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, maybe there's an explanation. Maybe you signed something you don't remember, maybe, get out. Mom, I said, get out. If you won't believe me, if you won't help me, then leave. She left crying. I sat alone in the dark again, wondering if everyone in my life thought I was crazy. Wondering if maybe I was. Christmas came and went. No calls from Kevin or Rachel. I spent it alone, eating canned soup and watching old movies, trying not to think about Christmases past when Patrick was alive and my children still loved me. On December 28th, I got an eviction notice. The condo rent was due, and I didn't have it. I had until January 31st to vacate. I started looking at homeless shelters. At 67, I was going to be homeless. Me, who'd taught children to read for 34 years. Me, who'd been married to the same man for 43 years. Me, who'd raised 2 kids and paid her taxes and never even gotten a speeding ticket. This was my life now. On January 15th, I was packing my few belongings into boxes when I found it. An old shoebox in the back of my closet, one I'd packed from the Dorchester house without really looking at it. Inside were photos, old birthday cards, random knickknacks, and an envelope. It was in Patrick's handwriting. For emergency only. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a key and a letter. My dearest Dot, it read. If you're reading this, something has gone terribly wrong, and I'm not there to help you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I need you to know something. When I got sick, when we got the diagnosis, I knew I might not have long. The thought of leaving you alone terrified me. So I did something I probably should have told you about, but I didn't want to worry you, and I kept thinking I'd have more time. You know the life insurance policy paid out. What you don't know is that I'd been preparing for years. Not because I didn't trust you or the kids, but because life is uncertain, and I wanted to make absolutely certain you'd be protected. This key is to a safety deposit box at the Boston Private Bank on Boylston Street. Box number 447. It's in both our names. I kept up the fees even when I was in the hospital. The last payment is good through 2030. Inside you'll find U.S. savings bonds. I bought them slowly, over 20 years. They've matured. They're worth about $95,000 now. Stock certificates. When my father died in 1998, I inherited 800 shares of Johnson & Johnson stock. I never sold them, just kept them in the box. I don't know what they're worth now, but hold on to them. Let them grow if you don't need them. My grandmother's jewelry. Not much, but the rings are real gold, and there's an emerald necklace that might be worth something. Another letter. Read it if you need strength. It's from the man who loved you more than life itself. I don't know what emergency brought you to this letter, but whatever it is, you're strong enough to handle it. You're the strongest person I've ever known. You raised our children. You dealt with my difficult mother for 40 years. You held my hand while I died and didn't let me see how scared you were. You're going to be okay, I made sure of it. All my love. Always and forever. Patrick. I clutched the letter to my chest and sobbed. 5 years gone, and Patrick was still taking care of me. The next morning, I took the bus to Boylston Street. The bank was one of those fancy old Boston establishments with marble floors and chandeliers. I felt out of place in my worn coat and scuffed shoes. I need to access a safety deposit box, I told the woman at the desk. Box 447. It's under Patrick and Dorothy Sullivan. She checked her computer, verified my ID, and led me to the vault. The box was larger than I expected. She left me alone in a small private room. My hands shook as I opened it. The bonds were there, stacked neatly, each one labeled in Patrick's precise handwriting. Series EE bonds, bought between 1,990 and 2010. I counted them. Face value, $50,000, but they'd been earning interest all these years. Current value, $96,300. The stock certificates were in a manila envelope. Johnson & Johnson, 800 shares. I looked up the price on my phone, $156 per share. That was $124,800. The jewelry was in a small velvet bag. I recognized my grandmother-in-law's emerald necklace, the one Patrick's grandmother wore in her wedding photo, 2 gold rings, a pearl bracelet, and another letter. It began, and I had to stop because I was crying again. If you've made it to the second letter, things must be really bad. I'm sorry I'm not there. I'm sorry for whatever has happened. I want you to know some things. First, you are not crazy. You are not confused. You are not weak. You are brilliant and capable, and if someone has hurt you or taken advantage of you, it is not your fault. Do you hear me? Not your fault. Second, use this money to fight. Hire the best lawyer you can find. Get justice. You deserve justice. Third, remember that time in 1987 when I lost my job at the factory and you held us together? You worked double shifts waitressing. You made sure the kids never knew how scared we were. You told me, Patrick Sullivan, we are not quitters. We figure it out. Well, I'm telling you now, Dorothy Sullivan, you are not a quitter. You will figure this out. Fourth, and this is important. Whatever has happened, whatever you're facing, remember that you are loved. I loved you. Our marriage was the best 43 years of my life. And if our children can't see what an amazing woman you are, that's their failure, not yours. You gave me everything, You gave me a home, a family, a reason to fight when the cancer tried to take me early. You held my hand when I was dying and told me it was okay to let go. You gave me peace. Now I'm giving you this. Not money freedom. Freedom to fight back. Freedom to stand tall. Freedom to show whoever hurt you that Dorothy Sullivan is nobody's victim. I love you. I believe in you. And I'm watching over you. Always yours, Patrick. I sat in that small room and cried for 20 minutes. Then I dried my eyes, carefully packed everything back into the box except for the bonds and stock certificates, and walked out of that bank with my head held high. I found a different